He's Ryan Leaf. He's a college football analyst, NFL analyst, and he's doing a lot of things with Westwood One, Sirius XM, and the former number 2 overall pick by the Chargers, the 1998 draft. Did you care about numerology? Like when you picked your number when you played in college or the pros, how important was that?
It all started in high school, and I wanted my dad's number. My dad wore number 14, and so coach lays out all the jerseys out on the bleachers, and it's first come, first serve. And this little kid who was not going to play and was not going to, whatever, picks up 14. And I looked at him and I said, hey, that's my dad's number. Can I? And he flat out, said no. And so the only number left with the quarterback number was 16. And so I took it. And that's what I wore the rest of my life.
Did you want to change it at any point?
Once I had it, somebody started using the moniker Sweet 16, and so I rolled with it.
It still sounds like you're bothered by this kid who took 14.
I even remember his name. His name was Bill Clark.
Oh, Bill Clark.
Yeah.
Paulie,
where is Bill Clark
track
right now?
down Bill Clark.
We're all over it.
Yeah. He's not sitting in a man cave being interviewed by me. That's for sure. What's going on with Washington State? Your alma mater. What's the future there?
It's devastating. This was an inevitability. It really was. We're on the precipice of the National Collegiate Football League. We are. It's going to be 2 conferences between 18 to 22 teams, most likely, that can afford to be in there. The media rights deal. It's going to be its own separate entity, probably no NCAA. And they're going to make a lot of money doing it. And they're going to be teams that are relegated. And it just started sooner rather than later. I thought we may have a few more years. But the writing was on the wall last year. It was. And the fact that George Kliavkoff and the Board of Governors did not move on that deal much faster and allowed things to play out, allowed the Big 12 to really gain some momentum after what went down last year, it really led to this. You couldn't have been too surprised. Now, talking with President Schultz, who was the head of it, from Washington State, he said he had everybody back to the table Friday morning. And then right before the meeting started, Arizona was like that one holdout. And they got them back to the table. They were going to sign the grant of rights deal to the Pac-12 conference, and Oregon and Washington came in and said, we're going to take the Big Ten deal. They were just too fearful of the streaming aspect of everything.
All right, so what's the time frame here, realistic time frame, that you think we have the NFL model of college football?
Well, how quickly it's escalated over 2 years ago when Oklahoma and Texas went to the SEC, and then USC and UCLA, and then what completely evaporated. I would suspect within the next 5 years.
And it feels like it's going to be Big Ten You could have 2 commissioners, the Big Ten commissioner and the SEC commissioner, and they could oversee like the AFC and the NFC if you wanted to.
You could, but I ultimately think there'll be one czar.
Okay.
Yeah, whoever that may look like. The Big Ten commissioner right now is new, of course, after Warren took the job with the Bears, and what the SEC has accomplished.
But he's a TV guy, the Big Ten commissioner.
He is.
That's what you need. You got to have TV has changed college athletics, changed college football. I don't know if it's going to be for the good, because I always think about this. I get caught up in it because I'm a member of the media, and I have to look at both sides. If you're a fan, is it good for you, what is happening now?
Well, I think you're going to get good football. I just got the Big 12's game of the week, with ESPN on the streaming service that they have, ESPN Plus. So I'm going to get to go down and get some really good Big 12 games. Some Pac-12 teams are going to be involved with it in the next few years, a lot more games. So I think we're going to have some interesting, good football games. So that doesn't bother me. What bothers me, of course, is the history, the legacy, all those things that exist from when I was a kid growing up. The Rose Bowl was going away anyway. It was going to this playoff, and it was not going to be used as the traditional Big Ten Pac-12 game anymore. And that was unfortunate. I just love the venue, and I love the game. I don't necessarily care who's playing in it. But yeah, it's as a fan who's consuming it, it's got to be difficult. And I've had a lot of former players reach out to me over the last couple of days, just in disbelief.
Yeah, I wonder if you're a fan that they don't care that the volleyball team has to go to, Piscataway and play Rutgers, or the baseball team might be put out by going someplace. It's basically, what do you have for me? And if the menu is still great, maybe there's less items on the menu, but the menu is strengthened because there are going to be some good matchups. And you get USC and UCLA in the Big Ten, and you get matchups that you didn't have before. I'm just curious what happens with Florida State, Clemson, and Notre Dame. At what point do they say, we're going to stay where we are? Can we stay where we are? Is it time to make that move?
Well, I think Florida State pretty much told the world it's time to make that move. And I tell you what, if they go out this year and play like I think they are, and get back to the championship level caliber team they are with Mike Norvell and Jordan Travis at quarterback, that's going to speak volumes. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the SEC pretty darn quick here. And then that's the domino that continues to fall. The ACC starts to crumble. You look at the two sides of things, and then the NCAA becomes, essentially what they are, just a giant party planning group every March. and we move away from all of that.
I've heard some former quarterbacks talk about, even Mike Tannenbaum, the former Jets GM, saying he would not start a rookie quarterback. Not under any circumstances. Week one, where we are with quarterbacks coming out of college, and it's already a professional, system that they're running. I know Mahomes didn't, when he came out, and Carson Palmer. We've had a lot of guys who didn't start. Steve McNair, but where are we right now with the state of quarterbacking? C.J. Stroud, should he be starting week one? Bryce Young, should he be starting week one?
I mean, it clearly looks like they've adjusted to what they're being asked to do, but we all felt that way. I mean, going into my first game, everybody was really confident with what I had been doing in practice, and how we were moving along. And in fact, we went out and won our first two starts. I didn't play, particularly well.
Did you know what you were doing?
Yeah, I mean, I knew what I was doing, but the things that I was thinking too much. And when you step out on a football field, when you're going through the offense, you don't want to be thinking about anything other than what you may see with them doing defensively. That's all you want to think about. You don't want to think about, what did I call on the snap count? What protection did I put here? What happens if this safety comes down? Do I move the back over here to protect me on this side? That's just got to be second nature. And that's what happens when you've been in a system that long. You look at players like, Peyton Manning played his entire career in the same offense. Tom Moore, that offense, it's never changed. Even with Adam Gase that came along, that was Peyton, what he was doing. And making changes on his own. So when you have that ability, that's a big part of it. So
would you start C.J. Stroud for a bad team?
I don't think Houston's that bad of a team, though. So I think their offensive line may be one of the best in the league. And if you have a good offensive line, a rookie quarterback he's going to hold the ball longer than most guys do. You just look at the trajectory of where Tom Brady was in year 1, 2, 3, and what he looked like in year 15, where the ball was out like that. So you have to. That's a learning progression. You used to be able to hold the ball back there, pat a little bit in college, take your time. Pros, you got to get rid of it. And he's a really good offensive line. So I don't have a problem with that. The only problem I always have is how involved the teams are on when it goes bad, when failure does happen. Because no one, as we've talked about this before, can quantify that variable. You just don't know. It hasn't happened.
Not many of these guys have faced failure.
No.
Like you're playing at Ohio State or Alabama, okay, may have lost one game or two games in a season.
And then he goes back to, you go look at Bryce Young, go back to modern day where you just dominate in Southern Cal all the time. So,
and that's always what I want to see from a young quarterback. When you throw the interception, when you get sacked, now what do you do? Not when you throw a touchdown, because the true adversity of the position is, and everybody faces it, what happens when, you get knocked on your rear end?
Yeah, and you don't know what that's going to be like, especially when you have to step up to the mic after the game. That's even a bigger thing, right? To take ownership of something that you may not feel was your fault, but since you're the quarterback and you're the leader, it is. And also when you're embarrassed and humiliated. Because like you said, these guys haven't been embarrassed and humiliated playing in a game in front of everybody. Like, you're used to being so good at what you do. What happens when you step out there and have a game like I did against Kansas City, my third game, and it's just embarrassing, and you're so humiliated that you regress to this defensive position and just, back yourself into a corner, start fighting. And of course, it completely backfired on me, and it's just always dependent on these players. And then how is the team going to back you and support you in that process?
Well, when do you start thinking about the post-game press conference while you're in the game and you have a bad game.
You don't. And you don't even think about it. You don't even think about it in the locker. All of a sudden, it's just like this thing that slaps you in the face, and you're standing in front of a microphone, and you have these people just going, "You sucked. What? How did this happen?" You know? And then you look at the guy, and you think, he's about 280 pounds and 5'4" and never played a game of football, and you're just like going, "I am so much superior than you. Stop asking me stupid questions, little man." And that doesn't work out well for anybody.
No, it does not. I know it didn't work out for somebody I know.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase said that he would have no problem with Joe Burrow sitting out for maybe the first 5 games of the regular season. What do you think?
Well, I mean, that tells me a little bit more maybe about the injury,
Yes.
But he's so darn good. It just depends. This AFC is so loaded, and we've talked about it ever since I was here doing the show when we talked about Lamar Jackson. It was such a up-in-the-air thing on where he was going to be, if he was going to be back to Baltimore. There are probably 10 or 11 teams that I would consider playoff caliber teams. There's going to be 4 that don't get in. And you're talking about quarterbacks like Lamar, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers possibly, Tua Tagovailoa, all these guys. So if you, if you put yourself in a 5-game hole, in a division like the AFC North, which is going to be brutally competitive, you want to be the 1 seed. You don't want to go to Kansas City again. They've had to do it for the last 5 years. Everybody has. You want to be the 1 seed. You don't want to be the 5 seed.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of it. You have to have 13, maybe possibly 14 wins, I think, in the AFC to have the number 1 overall seed this year.
Well, I keep bringing this up because everybody, we kind of filter how we want to filter. It's like, hey, I'm going to believe that story. It goes back to OBJ when the Cowboys wanted him. And I asked the question on the show. I said, can he even play? Is he healthy enough to play? And that was what was true. Nobody wanted to focus on that.
Yeah.
He's not going to play. Hey, we need talking points. We can mention the Cowboys here. So you start to think about the AFC East. I think one team gets to the playoffs out of the AFC East.
Do you?
Yes, because the AFC East is tough. You play the NFC East and the AFC West. Well, how many wins are you going to need to win that division? And is that going to be good enough to make the have a wild card team there? It's going to be tough sledding here. Buffalo, we know, is good. Miami is good.
The Jets should be good.
Should be good.
Yes.
So, and New England will be competitive. They may be average, but still, that's a pretty tough division, top to bottom. Nobody's factoring that in. They're like, man, the Jets going to the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, would you argue that's mostly Jets fans?
No. It's the national media.
Is it really?
Oh, my God.
I have not been. I think I'm just so in my own head when
you
it comes
can't
to it.
watch any of these shows without knowing it's going to be about Dak.
Well, you got Greeny and you got Eisen, and they're freaking Jets fans. And so they, I start talking about the reality, like you said, of what's real here, and Jets fans lose their collective minds. I mean, I swear, it's like I've come to the point.
They could be a year early.
Yes.
Which is strange to sound with Rodgers at his age, but I think that's why he's saying, I'm going to play here for a few years. I think he realizes if we do catch lightning in a bottle, it could be amazing, but give me a full year with this lineup, and, then I think that we might be really formidable.
Do you imagine us not being in the same position next offseason with him deciding will he or won't he if they don't go to the playoffs and if they don't beat the team?
I can't even think about it yet.
I do.
I can't.
I think that's what it is.
I can't. Wait, what do you think happens?
I think we just see the same thing we've had happen the
if
last
they
3
don't
years.
make the playoffs. Is Aaron Rodgers doing I don't know.
I got to go into the darkness and
yeah.
make a decision. I do. I mean, I think that's just kind of how he works, and I don't fault it necessarily.
Have you been? Have you gone into the dark place? You've been in a dark place.
In a very dark place.
It was called jail.
I spent 3 years in that dark place. I do a lot of meditating now. And I try to.
Would you have done what Rodgers did?
I couldn't do it for that long. I'll spend 30 minutes in a room right now where everything's shut off. I just close my eyes and I meditate. I couldn't do what he did.
I do that. It's called a nap.
I mean, but my mind starts dreaming about and fantasizing about stupid stuff when I'm sleeping. It's not the productive type of stuff.
Wait, what are you fantasizing about?
Golf simulators. Big time. We're remodeling right now. We're putting one in.
Nice.
Yep.
How much weight have you lost?
Since 2020, like 80, 85 pounds since 2020.
Wow.
So we've been working at this for a while. I'm gonna be an old dad. My kid's gonna be, I'm gonna be in my mid 60s when they graduate from high school. And so I just, the NFL does a really good thing with the NFLPA, and they send us down to New Orleans to Tulane University, the medical school there, and we go through a huge brain and body scan. I just did it last week.
Yeah.
And they take it's probably 6 figures worth of medical testing you get for free. It's amazing. And it's, I'm very critical of the NFL and the NFLPA all the time, so I think it's really important that I talk about the good stuff they're doing for us former players and that aspect of things, because they use this one ultrasound on your heart where they can actually see inside the ventricles and see how really the plaque is. Otherwise, you don't know that unless you have it cracked open. And they're able to see that because that's the thing that kills a lot of us. We don't know what's going on there. So I got a lot of good feedback. They had the numbers from 2016 when I went last time. And
nothing concussion-wise. They can't register.
They can't really register, but the tumor that I had taken out, which was trauma-related, was almost, the residual tumor was almost 0, which is amazing. It's food, it's exercise, it's meditation, it's prayer, it's nature, and it's just, I think, just kind of doing the same things I've done over the last 10 years.
Well, you look great. My best to your wife, and I know you're heading up to see your folks. So you're number one analyst for the Big 12 Game of the Week on ESPN Plus. Westwood One. You're podcasting as well, The Straight Line with Ryan Leaf. You're a busy guy there. Thanks for taking some time to join us over here. It's always good to see you, man.
Always good to see you guys. I appreciate you.
That's right.
I heard you're retiring, though, like in 2027.
4.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just down the road. If you want to keep doing the show and getting money, I'll do it for like $10 a show if you want.
Okay.
All right. Easy commute.
I'm not surprised you threw your name in the hopper.
Yeah. 2028?
Yeah. Yeah, but there's always Nick Wright, who he's younger.
Is he younger?
Yeah.
He looks older.
He's a lot younger than you.